The sea is dark and restless as cold water hits the metal sides of the boat. Men sit shoulder to shoulder, packed tightly, with very little space to move. The engine hums low, mixing with the sound of waves striking steel. Some men grip their rifles with stiff hands. Others stare straight ahead, their eyes empty. The horizon is still black, but everyone knows what is waiting. In a few minutes, the ramp will drop, and life will divide into before and after. Salt water splashes inside the boat, soaking boots and trousers. Hands shake, even for those who trained for years. Fear does not ask who is brave. Someone whispers a short prayer. Someone checks his helmet again, not because it helps, but because doing something feels better than doing nothing. The boat slows down, and the change in engine sound tells them they are close now. Too close to turn back. They were told this beach would be dangerous. They were told the enemy would be waiting. But words feel weak here. The sea opens ahead, revealing a long stretch of sand that waits in silence. Behind it rise dark cliffs, tall and rough, watching like silent walls. The air feels heavy. Every second stretches longer than it should. Time feels broken. Even breathing sounds too loud. The ramp stays up for a few more seconds. It is the last thin wall between safety and chaos. Men look at it without speaking. Some already know they may never see home again. Training flashes through their minds. Orders repeat inside their heads. Move forward. Stay low. Find cover. But fear cuts through every thought. Fear of the unknown. Fear of failing the men beside them. Fear of dying on a beach they never knew existed. The boat jerks as it hits shallow water. A voice shouts over the noise. The ramp begins to move. In that instant, the silence ends. Sound crashes in from every direction. Sharp cracks tear through the air. Water splashes high around the boat. The calm sea disappears. For a heartbeat, men freeze. Their bodies want to stay inside. Their minds scream to move. There is no safe choice anymore. The ramp slams down, and cold water rushes in. The beach is right there, open, wide, and unforgiving. Men jump. Some stumble. Some fall into deep water as heavy packs pull them down. Shouts fill the air. Orders mix with panic. No one knows where the sounds come from. Everything feels too close and too fast. The sand ahead looks endless. There is no clear shelter and no clear path. Men run because stopping feels worse. Each step feels slow as boots sink into wet sand and water drags at their legs. They were supposed to move forward together, but the beach tears them apart. Smoke, noise, and fear scatter everyone, and units vanish within seconds. Some men reach shallow dips in the sand and press themselves low. Their hearts pound so hard it hurts. Breathing becomes a struggle. Others are still in the water, fighting to stand, fighting to move, as the weight of their gear pulls them down. Looking back is impossible. Looking ahead is terrifying. The cliffs loom larger with every second. No one sees the whole battle. Each man knows only a few meters around him. That small space becomes his entire world. Fear comes in waves. It rises, falls, and rises again. Some men shake. Some go strangely calm. Minutes feel like hours. The beach does not feel real. It feels like a test with no answers, a place where plans lose all meaning. The sound never stops. It presses into ears, chests, and minds. Men think of home without meaning to. Faces of family appear and disappear just as fast. Someone crawls forward. Another follows. Small movements begin to matter. Tiny choices start to shape survival. A soldier looks up the slope and sees wire, shadows, and the height they must climb. The beach is no longer just sand. It is a trap between sea and land, between going back and going forward, between fear and action. Some leaders try to shout orders, but their voices vanish in the noise. Men act on instinct now. Training turns into reflex. This was supposed to be fast. This was supposed to be controlled. But control is gone. Only effort remains. The first wave was meant to open the way, but instead it is stuck, pinned by pressure and confusion as time slips away with every breath. And yet, beneath the fear, something else begins to grow. A stubborn refusal to stay down, a quiet decision to keep moving, even when the way forward is unclear. The beach does not care who they are or what they planned. It only tests what they will do next, right here, in this moment, as smoke drifts slowly across the sand. Smoke drifts across the sand and mixes with the smell of salt and fuel. The men on the beach do not know it yet, but what happens here will shape the entire day, and maybe the entire war. This stretch of coast is not just another landing place. It is a key that must turn, or everything behind it will lock shut. Far behind this beach, across the sea, thousands of ships wait. Inside them are more soldiers, more supplies, more hopes. They are counting on this narrow strip of sand to open a path into Europe. If this beach fails, those ships will have nowhere to unload. The invasion will stall. Time will turn against them. This is why Omaha matters. To the Allied leaders, this beach is a bridge between plans and reality. They need it to connect two other landings. One lies to the east, one lies to the west. Without this link, the invasion will be split into pieces, easy to contain and crush. Omaha is the hardest point, but it must hold. For the soldiers here, none of that feels clear. They are not thinking about maps or supply lines. They are thinking about staying alive. Still, every step they take forward carries weight far beyond their own fear. Each meter of sand gained brings the entire invasion closer to success. For the German defenders, this beach is a shield. Behind these cliffs lie roads, towns, and open land. If the enemy breaks through here, nothing stands between them and the heart of occupied Europe. The defenders know this ground well. They have watched it for months. They believe it can be held. Concrete positions sit high above the sand. Fields of fire overlap. The land itself favors defense. From above, the beach looks like a trap. From below, it feels impossible. The German plan is simple. Stop the landing at the water. Break the attack before it can breathe. They believe time is on their side. Every minute the attackers remain stuck on the sand weakens them. Confusion grows. Supplies pile up in the wrong places. Leaders lose control. If the pressure holds long enough, the invasion may collapse under its own weight. This belief gives the defenders confidence. They trust the strength of fixed positions. They trust the ground. They trust that courage alone cannot cross open sand under watchful eyes. But this beach is not only about weapons or positions. It is about belief. One side believes planning and numbers will win. The other believes preparation and defense will hold. Both sides are certain they are right. High command, far away, waits for signs. Reports are slow. Messages are unclear. Silence fills the gaps. In those silent moments, doubt begins to creep in. Has the landing failed? Has it succeeded? No one knows yet. If this beach falls, the invasion gains a deep wound. Supplies will choke. Movement will slow. Confidence will crack. The enemy will have proof that the coast can be defended. Future attacks will become harder, not easier. If this beach holds, everything changes. Roads will open. Heavy equipment will follow. The beach will turn from a killing ground into a lifeline. What looks impossible now will become history later. That is why every small movement on the sand matters. That is why every decision, even by a single soldier, carries weight beyond measure. Omaha is not just one landing among many. It is the point where the invasion is tested at its weakest. The men on the beach do not hear these thoughts. They do not know how many eyes are fixed on this place. They only feel the pressure pushing down on them from all sides. The pressure to move. The pressure to survive. The pressure of time slipping away. As the smoke thickens and the noise never fades, the battle for this beach becomes more than a fight for ground. It becomes a struggle between belief and reality, between plans made in safety and decisions forced under fear. And behind it all, unseen and unstoppable, the clock keeps ticking. Before this moment, the world leading to this beach was filled with waiting. Long days, long nights, camps crowded with men who trained again and again. They ran drills until their bodies moved without thought. They studied maps of a coast they had never seen. They were told this was the moment everything had been building toward. In Britain, the land was full of movement. Roads carried endless trucks. Fields became airstrips. Harbors filled with ships of every size. Soldiers from different places learned to live and work together. Accents mixed. Habits clashed. But a single purpose tied them all. They were going back across the sea. Many believed in the plan. The preparation felt massive. The numbers felt strong. There was comfort in the scale of it all. So much effort could not fail. That belief helped calm fear. It made the waiting easier to bear. But doubt lived just beneath the surface. Weather became an enemy before the real enemy was even seen. Strong winds and rough seas delayed the launch. Every delay raised new questions. Would surprise be lost? Would the enemy sense what was coming? Would morale crack if they waited too long? Leaders argued quietly. Some pushed to go. Some wanted more time. Every choice felt heavy. Delay too long, and the moment would slip away. Move too soon, and risk disaster. In the end, the decision was made. The invasion would go forward. For the Germans, the months before this day were also filled with preparation. They watched the coast closely. They expected an attack, but not the exact place or time. They believed the enemy would strike where it was easiest, not where it was hardest. This belief shaped everything. Defenses were built with care. Strong positions were placed to control open ground. The cliffs above this beach were turned into watchful eyes. Every approach was measured. Every path was covered. To the defenders, the beach below looked exposed and weak. It felt like a place no force could cross under fire. Many German soldiers were not seasoned fighters. Some were older. Some were young. Some came from places far from the sea. But the positions gave them confidence. The land itself felt like an ally. High ground always feels safer than low ground. Commanders trusted that fixed defenses could hold until reserves arrived. They believed the first hours would decide everything. If the landing could be broken early, the invasion would bleed itself dry. Both sides shared one thing: overconfidence mixed with fear. The attackers trusted planning, numbers, and surprise. The defenders trusted ground, preparation, and time. Each side believed the other would crack first. As night fell before the landing, men on both sides tried to rest. Sleep came in short pieces. Thoughts wandered. Letters were reread. Some men wrote messages they were not sure would ever be delivered. Others simply lay still and listened to the sounds around them. For many, this was the quietest moment before everything changed. No one could see how small errors would grow large. No one could know how weather, smoke, and fear would bend plans out of shape. The world before the battle felt ordered, clean, logical. The world after would not be. As dawn approached, the sea carried the first signs of movement. Shadows of ships passed silently. The defenders watched the horizon. The attackers moved closer with every wave. The distance between expectation and reality began to close. Soon, waiting would end. And when it did, every belief held by both sides would be tested at once. Far from the beach, decisions were being made by men who would never touch the sand. They studied maps laid flat on tables. Lines and symbols showed cliffs, roads, and strong points. On paper, everything looked clear. Distances were measured. Timings were planned. Risk was discussed in calm rooms, far from the noise of the sea. The Allied commanders carried heavy pressure. They knew this invasion could not fail. Too much depended on it. Nations were watching. Soldiers were waiting. Years of war had led to this single push back into Europe. Success would open the door. Failure would close it for a long time. They believed air power and naval fire would weaken the defenses. They believed the first waves could cross quickly. They believed speed would protect the men on the beach. These beliefs were not careless. They were built on experience. But experience does not always match reality. Some commanders worried quietly. The cliffs were high. The beach was narrow. The enemy had time to prepare, but doubt had to stay controlled. Too much doubt could stop action. In war, hesitation can be more dangerous than mistakes. On the German side, confidence also shaped decisions. Commanders trusted the strength of the Atlantic Wall. They believed fixed defenses could break any landing. Concrete, height, and overlapping fire gave a sense of control. From above, the beach looked simple to defend. They believed the main attack might come elsewhere. This belief pulled attention away. Reserves were kept back. Movement was slow. Orders were shaped by expectation, not surprise. When the landing came here, it challenged everything they thought they knew. German leaders faced their own pressure. They were told to hold the coast at all costs. Retreat was not part of the plan. Holding ground mattered more than flexibility. This belief created strength, but it also created stiffness. As the battle began, commanders on both sides struggled to see clearly. Reports were delayed. Messages were broken. What one officer saw on the sand was very different from what another imagined miles away. The battlefield felt like a fog with sound, but little shape. Allied officers on the beach faced a different kind of war. Plans meant little once units scattered. Radios failed. Leaders fell. Control broke into small pieces. Decisions had to be made by those closest to danger. Some froze, overwhelmed by noise and confusion. Others acted without waiting. Rank mattered less than courage and clarity. A single calm voice could move men forward. A single brave step could change direction. German defenders also faced pressure they did not expect. Smoke blocked views. Targets appeared and vanished. Orders from above came slowly. The sense of total control began to slip. The beach did not stay neat and open. It became crowded, loud, and uncertain. Belief started to crack on both sides. The attackers saw that planning alone could not save them. The defenders saw that fixed positions could not stop every movement. War was no longer about theory. It was about choices made under fear. In this confusion, leadership became personal. Not grand speeches or perfect plans, but small actions. A hand signal, a shout, a decision to move instead of waiting. These moments did not look important at the time, but they shaped everything that followed. As the battle pressed on, minds were stretched to their limits. Fear fought against duty. Training fought against panic. Every man, whether on the sand or far away, faced the same question in different forms. What do you do when the plan breaks? The answer would soon rise from the beach itself. The battle grows louder as the morning moves on. Smoke hangs low and turns the beach into a narrow world of shadows and noise. Men cannot see far. They can only feel the ground beneath them and the weight of the moment pressing down. The plan that once felt strong now feels distant, almost unreal. The landing craft keep coming. Some drift off course. Some hit sandbars too early. Others stop too far out. Men jump into water deeper than expected. They struggle to stand. The sea pulls at them, while fear pushes them forward. Every step costs effort. When they reach the sand, there is no clear line to follow, no safe path marked out. The beach is uneven, broken by small rises and shallow dips. These tiny shapes become shelters. Men press their bodies low, hoping the ground will hide them. The sand feels cold and hard. It offers little comfort. Communication collapses almost at once. Radios fail or are lost. Leaders search for their units and find strangers instead. Orders cannot travel far. Shouting only adds to the noise. Each group becomes its own small battle, cut off from the rest. Time becomes the enemy. The longer men stay pinned down, the worse it gets. Supplies pile up at the water's edge. Vehicles sink or stall. The beach grows crowded, not with movement, but with hesitation. Every delay makes the next move harder. The cliffs above seem to grow taller. From below, they look smooth and unreachable. Paths that were marked on maps cannot be found. Smoke hides landmarks. What looked simple on paper now feels confusing and dangerous. Some men try to push forward and are forced back by pressure they did not expect. Others crawl sideways, searching for gaps. Progress is measured in meters, not miles. Each small gain feels huge, but fragile. Fear works quietly. It does not shout. It whispers. It tells men to stay still, to wait for someone else to act, to hope the noise will fade. But waiting brings its own danger. The beach offers no true safety. Then, slowly, something changes. A few men begin to move with purpose, not because they were told to, but because staying still feels worse. They look at the ground. They read the land in front of them. A small rise here, a shallow cut there, enough to move closer. One man crawls forward, another follows, then another. These are not grand charges. They are careful, quiet movements. Each step is planned. Each pause is used to breathe and think. Leadership forms where it is needed most. A calm voice cuts through the noise. A hand points the way. Rank matters less than clarity. Men listen to whoever seems sure, even for a moment. On the cliffs, defenders begin to feel pressure they did not expect. Smoke hides targets. Movement appears where none was supposed to exist. The beach no longer looks frozen. It begins to shift and breathe. Orders from above come late or unclear. The situation below changes faster than messages can travel. Confidence weakens as certainty fades. Fixed positions feel strong, but not perfect. Gaps appear where none were planned. Back on the sand, exhaustion sets in. Arms feel heavy. Mouths are dry. But momentum matters. Once movement begins, stopping becomes harder than continuing. Men who have moved forward do not want to go back. The battle is no longer one single fight. It becomes many small struggles happening at once. Each one feels isolated. Each one matters more than anyone realizes. Noise fills every space. It presses into the mind. It makes thinking difficult. Simple choices become hard. Left or right, up or down. Move now or wait. Some choices fail. Others succeed. There is no clear pattern. Chance plays its quiet role. A pause here saves a life. A step there opens a path. As the morning wears on, the beach slowly changes character. It is still dangerous, still loud, still uncertain, but it is no longer frozen. Movement has begun, not everywhere, not evenly, but enough to matter. The battle ignites fully now, not as one great push, but as many small fires spreading across the sand and up the slopes. Each fire fed by fear, courage, and the simple need to escape the open ground. The outcome is still unclear. The cost is already heavy, and yet, for the first time since the ramp dropped, the beach begins to feel less like a dead end, and more like a test that might, just might, be passed. As the hours pass, the weight of the moment grows heavier. The sun climbs higher, and with it comes a cruel clarity. What was once hidden by darkness is now fully exposed. The beach lies open under the light. Every movement feels visible. Every pause feels dangerous. Men begin to understand something slowly and painfully. Help will not arrive in a clean, powerful wave. No single order will suddenly fix everything. What happens next depends on those already here, on tired bodies, on shaken minds, on choices made without guidance. The original plan has broken apart. Units are mixed. Leaders are missing. Timetables mean nothing now. The battle has shifted from command rooms to the sand itself. Control has moved downward into the hands of small groups and individuals. Some soldiers find themselves beside men they have never met before. Different units, different training, different accents. None of that matters anymore. They share the same ground, the same fear, the same need to move forward or be crushed where they lie. They begin to study the land more carefully. The beach is not flat after all. There are small folds in the sand, shallow cuts made by water and time, broken obstacles that offer just enough cover to breathe. What once looked useless now feels precious. Movement becomes patient and deliberate. No rushing, no shouting. Crawl, pause, look, listen. Move again. Every meter forward feels earned. Every meter carries risk. Some men reach the base of the slope. Up close, it looks even steeper. Loose dirt slips under their hands. Grass and rock cling to the earth. The climb feels endless, but staying below feels worse. Above them, the defenders begin to sense a shift. The beach was supposed to break the attack early. It was supposed to stay quiet after the first shock. Instead, movement continues, slow, uneven, but steady. The enemy does not disappear. Smoke and dust blur vision. Sounds echo in strange ways. It becomes hard to tell where danger truly lies. The clean fields of fire imagined before the battle are gone. The ground no longer behaves as expected. Some defenders hesitate, not out of fear alone, but out of confusion. The situation does not match the plan. Reports conflict. Targets appear and vanish. Confidence begins to thin. Back on the beach, exhaustion spreads. Muscles burn. Throats ache. Fear drains energy faster than running ever could. Men force themselves to keep going, not because they feel strong, but because stopping feels like surrender. Moments of quiet appear between bursts of chaos. In those moments, thoughts rush in. Why am I still here? How am I still standing? What happens if I move? What happens if I do not? Then noise returns, and thinking stops again. Leadership continues to rise from unexpected places. A soldier who stays calm becomes a guide. Another who understands the slope finds a way through. Plans form in fragments. Not perfect, not safe, but possible. Small successes begin to appear. A position cleared. A path opened. A group reaches higher ground. These moments do not feel like victory. They feel like relief. Brief and fragile. Each success pulls more men forward. Hope does not arrive all at once. It leaks in slowly, through cracks in fear. A sense that the beach may not be impossible after all. But the cost is never far away. Wounded men lie waiting. Some call out. Some are silent. Medics move when they can, knowing they cannot reach everyone. The weight of what is being left behind presses on those who move forward. Time continues to pass. Ships offshore wait anxiously. Commanders struggle to understand what is happening. Reports remain unclear. The question hangs heavy in the air far beyond the beach. Is the landing holding, or is it failing? On the sand and slopes of Omaha, the answer is still being written, not by grand orders or perfect plans, but by tired men making one hard choice after another. The battle is no longer about landing. It is about breaking through. And somewhere between fear and resolve, between chaos and control, the fate of the day begins to tilt. The slope begins to change the battle. Once men reach even a little higher ground, the beach behind them no longer feels like a trap. It still matters, but it no longer owns them. Up here, movement feels possible. Breath comes a little easier. Fear still exists, but it no longer freezes the body. Small groups form naturally, not by design, but by need. A few men share glances. They nod. No long talks. No speeches. Just an understanding that moving together is better than moving alone. Trust grows fast when survival depends on it. They move along the slope, not straight up. Sideways first. Searching for breaks, for angles, for places the defenders did not expect anyone to reach. The ground tells its own story to those who pay attention. Rocks offer grip, bushes hide movement, shadows create moments of safety. Above them, the defenders feel pressure building. The attack was meant to be stopped early, far below. Instead, the enemy is climbing. Not everywhere, not in great numbers, but enough to matter, enough to force reaction. Some defenders try to adjust. Others wait for orders that come too late. The sense of control weakens further. Fixed positions feel strong, but they cannot see everything. They cannot move easily. What once felt solid now feels narrow. Back on the beach, new waves arrive and find signs of progress. Men see others moving forward. That sight changes everything. It breaks the feeling of isolation. It proves that the beach is not a dead end. Movement spreads, uneven but real. Officers who survive begin to pull fragments together. They point, they signal, they guide. Leadership is no longer about rank alone. It is about clarity, about showing a way forward when no map makes sense. The sound of the battle shifts. It is still loud, but it is no longer one-sided. The noise moves upward, away from the water. That change, small as it seems, signals something important. The fight is no longer only about survival. It is about progress. Exhaustion deepens. Legs shake. Hands ache. Every movement costs effort. But momentum carries men forward when strength fails. Stopping now feels more dangerous than continuing. The mind clings to motion as a form of safety. Some men reach the top of the slope. The view surprises them. The land beyond is not endless defenses. It is broken ground, paths, and space. The realization hits quietly. This beach was not the end. It was the gate. That knowledge spread slowly, carried by movement rather than words. Each man who moves higher changes the shape of the battle. Each step reduced the power of the beach below. For the defenders, the moment becomes clear. The attack has not been stopped. It has bent, slowed, and hurt badly, but it has not broken. The chance to push it back into the sea slips away with every passing minute. Orders shift from holding to containing, from confidence to urgency. The tone changes. The defenders begin to react instead of control. That change is subtle, but decisive. The battle has crossed an invisible line. It is no longer about whether the landing can be stopped. It is about limiting how far it can go. That difference carries huge weight, even if few realize it at the time. Below, the beach still suffers. Men still arrive under pressure. The cost continues to rise. But the meaning of the struggle has changed. Every sacrifice now feeds a larger movement forward. The invasion breathes for the first time. Not easily, not cleanly, but enough to survive. As the day pushes on, Omaha Beach remains dangerous, chaotic, and painful. But it is no longer impossible. The fear that once froze men in place now pushes them ahead. The silence that once waited behind the ramp has been replaced by hard choices and stubborn resolve. What began as a desperate struggle to escape the sand has become something else entirely, a fight to open Europe. And the beach, once a wall, begins to turn into a road. Beyond the beach, the land feels strangely quiet, not peaceful, but different. The noise fades just enough to make thoughts return. Men who reach higher ground pause without realizing it. They breathe. They look around. For the first time since the ramp dropped, they can lift their heads. The ground here is uneven and broken. Small paths cut through grass and dirt. Hedges and shallow valleys divide the land. It is not the solid wall many feared. It is land that can be crossed, held, and used. This discovery changes everything, even if it spreads slowly. The fight does not stop. It only changes shape. Small groups move forward carefully. They clear the ground step by step. There is no rush now. Speed without control would bring new danger. Every movement is checked. Every sound is questioned. The battle becomes quieter, but no less tense. On the beach below, the meaning of time shifts again. Earlier, every minute felt like a threat. Now, each minute gained brings strength. Supplies begin to move inland. Paths once blocked start to open. What was chaos begins to take a rough form. Commanders offshore struggle to understand what is happening. Reports arrive late and broken. Some sound hopeful, others sound desperate. No clear picture forms. The only truth is that the landing did not fail. That alone feels like a victory. For German leaders, the situation becomes uneasy. The coast was meant to hold firm. It was meant to stop the invasion at the water's edge. Instead, the enemy has slipped through in places, not everywhere, not cleanly, but enough to matter. They face a hard truth. Fixed defenses cannot solve a moving problem. The land beyond the beach demands flexibility, but flexibility is slow to appear. Orders travel through layers of command. Decisions lag behind reality. On the ground, individual soldiers sense the shift before leaders do. Defenders begin to pull back from some positions, not in panic, but in response to pressure. Holding every inch no longer feels possible. The fight becomes about delay instead of denial. Back among the attackers, exhaustion turns into something deeper. Not just tired muscles, but heavy minds. Many men do not realize how long they have been moving. Hunger and thirst fade behind adrenaline. The body keeps going because stopping feels unsafe. Moments of silence appear more often now. In those moments, men look at each other differently. Not as strangers thrown together by chance, but as survivors of the same test. A quiet bond forms, built on shared fear and shared movement. Loss is felt more clearly now. When the noise drops, absence becomes visible. A place where someone stood earlier is empty. A voice that shouted directions is gone. These gaps linger in the mind longer than the noise ever did. Medics continue their work wherever they can. Not heroes in stories, but steady hands in chaos. They move with purpose, knowing limits they cannot change. Their presence offers calm in a world that still feels unstable. As the hours pass, the beach itself begins to change character. What was once a killing ground becomes a working space. Men unload supplies. Engineers clear paths. The sand bears the marks of movement instead of fear alone. This transformation does not erase the cost. Nothing can. But it gives meaning to it. The struggle on the sand was not wasted. It bought time. It opened ground. It allowed the invasion to take root. Omaha Beach does not fall in a single moment. It bends slowly under pressure. It changes shape through countless small acts of courage and stubborn refusal. There is no clean victory here, only survival turning into progress. By the end of the day, the question is no longer whether the Allies can stay. It is how far they can push next. That question would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. The beach that nearly broke the invasion now supports it. And as night begins to approach, a new reality settles in. The war has crossed a line that cannot be undone. What was once an uncertain gamble has become a hard-earned foothold. The cost will echo for years. The memory will last far longer. But Omaha Beach has done what it needed to do. It held. The story is not finished yet. Night moves in slowly, almost gently, as if the day itself is exhausted. The light fades, but the tension does not. For the men who survived the beach and the slopes, there is no feeling of safety yet. Darkness brings rest, but it also brings new fear. Shapes are harder to see. Sounds feel closer. Every rustle matters. Small groups dig in where they can. Not deep, not strong. Just enough to feel less exposed. Hands that shook in the morning now move with tired purpose. Bodies ache. Minds feel dull. But the need to stay alert refuses to fade. Some men finally sit down. When they do, the weight of the day hits them all at once. Legs tremble. Backs hunch forward. Breathing slows. Only now do many realize how close they came to not being here at all. Thoughts drift without warning. The beach returns in flashes. The sound of water. The moment the ramp dropped. The fear of being stuck in the open. These memories arrive suddenly, without order. They will return many times in the years to come. Around them, the land beyond Omaha begins to fill with quiet movement. Supplies come ashore in greater numbers. Engineers work through the night, clearing paths and marking routes. Each task feels small, but together they turn survival into stability. Commanders finally gain a clearer picture. Not a perfect one, but enough to breathe again. The landing did not collapse. The enemy did not push them back into the sea. That single truth changes everything. Plans that were frozen in doubt begin to move again. The cost becomes clearer as reports come in. Numbers replace faces. Losses are counted. Each count carries weight, even when spoken calmly. Victory feels heavy. No one celebrates. No one should. For the German side, the night brings its own questions. The coast was breached, not broken everywhere, but broken enough. The fear they hoped to place in the attackers now lives among their own ranks as well. Confidence weakens. Orders shift. The war no longer feels distant. They prepare for the next day, knowing the enemy is no longer just on the beach. They are inland now. That fact cannot be undone. The meaning of defense changes overnight. As dawn approaches again, the battlefield looks different. Not quieter, not safer, but changed. The beach is crowded with signs of work instead of confusion. The slopes hold men who survived the impossible. The land beyond waits, uncertain and exposed. Omaha Beach no longer stands alone. It is now part of something larger. A growing front, a widening wound in the enemy's control. The invasion has taken root, not because it was smooth or perfect, but because it endured. The meaning of the battle settles slowly in the minds of those who lived it. This was not a story of flawless strategy. It was a story of plans breaking and people adapting. Of fear faced again and again without promise of success. Omaha is remembered not because it was the largest landing, or the fastest, or the most elegant. It is remembered because it was the most uncertain, because failure felt close enough to touch, because victory came quietly, carried on exhausted shoulders. The beach teaches a hard lesson. War does not reward confidence alone. It tests patience, flexibility, and the will to keep moving when logic says stop. It shows the limits of planning and the power of human choice under pressure. For the men who crossed that sand, Omaha never truly ends. It follows them home. It lives in silence, in memory, in moments no one else can see. It becomes part of who they are. For history, Omaha Beach stands as a reminder that the direction of the war did not change because everything went right. It changed because when everything went wrong, enough people refused to give up. The story of Omaha is not just about a beach. It is about endurance,